Students, good morning all of you. In the last class, I explained the lesson Dear Departed 1. In this class, I am going to explain the Dear Departed 2. The continuation of Dear Departed 1. In the last class, in the Dear Departed 1, Amelia, Henry, Ben Jordan and Elizabeth Jordan, everybody felt that Abel Merriweather had died. Then in the meantime, Amelia asked Victoria to go to her grandpa's room, bring a bunch of keys. At that time, Victoria came back frightening and very frightening and scared. She said to her mother, "Grandpa is getting up." They are shocked. They are surprised. Abel Merriweather is coming down from upstairs. They shocked and they are speechless. They are transfixed. And the continuation of lesson you are going to learn in the Dear Departed 2. Abel says, "What's the matter, little Vicky?" Abel is asking, "What's the matter? What happened to Victoria?" Vicky means Victoria. "What's the matter with little Vicky? What happened to Victoria?" he asked. He sees Ben and Mrs. Jordan. "Hello, what brings you here? How's yourself, Ben?" He sees Ben and Mrs. Jordan. He didn't expect their coming because he hasn't known anything about their thoughts. So when he sees Ben and Mrs. Jordan, he says, "Hello, what brings you here?" That means, "Why are you here? What's the reason for your being here? What's the reason for your being here? Why are you here? How's yourself, Ben? How is yourself, Ben?" That means, "How are you?" That is the informal way of asking. "How are you, Ben? How is yourself? How are you, Ben?" Abel thrusts his hand at Ben, who skips back smartly and retreats with Mrs. Jordan to a safe distance below the sofa. Abel pushes back Ben, and Ben skips means jumps very smartly and retreats, move away with Mrs. Jordan and reach to a sofa distance below the sofa. Reach to a sofa, very safe. Reach to a safe distance below the sofa. And he went there, back of Elizabeth, and to a safe distance. And reached to a safe distance below the sofa. Mrs. Slater is approaching Abel gingerly. Mrs. Slater is approaching Abel gingerly. That means very carefully, cautiously, carefully. "Father, is that you?" She pokes him with her hand to see if he is solid. If he is solid, he was solid. That means solid means he might be alive. She pokes. She pokes means here pokes means pushed. Pokes means pushed. Pushed her finger. She silently approaching, carefully noticing Abel whether he was solid or cold. Whether he was solid means he might be alive. She wanted to know. So carefully she is noticing Abel and she pokes her hand towards him and whether he was solid or not. He was solid, that means he might be alive. Abel says, "Of course, it's me. Don't do that, Amelia. What the devil do you mean by this tomfoolery? Don't do that, Amelia. It's me. It's me, of course," he said. Abel spoke. Amelia poked him. He felt annoyed or displeasure. And "What the devil do you mean by this tomfoolery, this foolish act? What is this, Amelia?" he asked her. "Mrs. Jordan, you took us by surprise, Father. Are you keeping quite well? You took us by surprise. You took us, and somebody take somebody by surprise. Take here took means take. You take us by surprise, Father. Are you keeping quite well?" It's happened unexpectedly, so that somebody was slightly shocked. According to Elizabeth, she was shocked. That's why, "Are you keeping the Father? Are you keeping quite well?" she asked. Really surprised and shocked they all. So Elizabeth asked her father, Are you keeping quite well, father? Are you all right? She asked. Abel, trying to catch the words. What? That is, Abel could not hear it. Here, that means Abel could not hear what she asked, what Elizabeth says. That's why, what? He wanted to hear the same words again. Then Mrs. Jordan again says, are you quite well, father? Asked. Mrs. Jordan asked if he was well or alright. If he was well, if he was alright, she wanted to know. Abel used to express distress or regret. I am right enough, but for a bit of a headache. That means Abel used to express this word to distress or regret. Used to express distress or regret. Which word? I am all right enough, but except here, but means except for a bit of headache. I felt a little bit of headache. Except that I am all right, he said. Looking at Amelia, what the dickens did I do with my new slippers? What the dickens did I do in order to show surprise or anger? He used this expression. What the dickens did I do? What the dickens did I do? He used to show in order to show surprise or anger. Where are my new slippers? Mrs. Slater was really confused. Mrs. Slater says, confused. Aren't they by hearth? Aren't they by the hearth? Father, hearth means here fireplace inside of the room. Near the fireplace there was a carpet. I think that near the place of fire is called hearth. Aren't they nearby hearth, father? She asked. Abel says, I don't see them. I don't see them. He is looking at there, but they were not seen. So, I don't see them, he said. Observing Henry trying to remove the slippers. So, immediately he observed Henry was trying to remove the slippers from his feet. He noticed Henry was removing the slippers. Why you have got Ammon, Henry? Why you have got Ammon? Ammon means here demon. Demon. Why you have got where demon? Henry, the slippers belong to Mr. Henry, Mr. Abel, but now Henry was wearing his new slippers, so he is questioning, why you wore those slippers, Henry? He asked. Mrs. Slater promptly, I told him to put them on to stretch them. They were that new and hard. Now Henry? Mrs. Slater snatches the slippers from Henry and gives them to Abel, who puts them on and sits in the armchair. See, actually, she asked him, Amelia asked him to wear that they would stretch. But she says here, they were that new slippers and hard. I told him to put them on, father, to stretch them. They were that new slippers, they are hard, so I have told you. Now Henry, remove them. She snatches the slippers. Actually, she asked him to wear. But now, when father asked, immediately she snatches. Snatches means taking something very quickly, forcibly. She snatches the slippers from Henry and gives them to Abel, who puts them on and sits in the armchair. He wore them immediately and he sits in the armchair. Mrs. Jordan says, well, I don't call that delicate, stepping into a dead man's shoes in such haste. See, here Elizabeth finds a chance to prove them bad. Elizabeth finds a chance to prove them bad. She had a chance. See, immediately Mrs. Jordan says, Elizabeth says, I don't call that delicate stepping into a dead man's shoes in such haste. Wearing it, that delicate means here wearing Abel's slippers was not a sensible thing. Delicate means wearing Abel's slippers was not a sensible thing. Stepping into dead man's shoes in such haste, very fast. Slippers slippers were worn by Mr. Henry. So wearing Abel's slippers was not a sensible thing. So Elizabeth finds a chance to prove them bad. So Victoria runs across to table and sits on the floor at his feet. Victoria came and sits at the floor and especially her grandpa's, near the grandpa's feet. Victoria, oh grandpa, I'm very glad you are not dead. Oh grandpa, very surprised. To express expression surprise, joy, to express joy, surprise, or sometimes fear. Here she was very joyful. I'm very glad, grandpa, you are not dead. That means she was really very happy. She was very joyful. She was very cheerful because her grandpa was all right. He was not dead. Mrs. Latter, he was not dead. He was alive. Mrs. Latter, in a vindictive whisper, hold your tongue, Victoria. Actually whisper slowly, very slowly, and talking in the almost ear, but here in a vindictive whisper means stop talking, Victoria, talking something in a harsh, hasty manner. Harsh, talking something in a harsh, hasty manner. Hold your tongue, stop your talking, Victoria. Hold your tongue means tell someone to stop talking. What's that? Who's gone dead? Who's gone dead? Abel questioned them. Mrs. Latter loudly, Victoria says, she is sorry about your head, father. Victoria says, she wanted to cover it. That's why she is worried about your head, father. Your headache, you feel headache. That's why she felt unhappy, she says. Mrs. Latter loudly, Victoria says, she is sorry about your head. Abel, thank you, Vicky, but I am feeling better. Thank you very much, Vicky. Now I am all right, he said. Abel, why, Ben, you are mourning, and Lizzie too, and Amelia, and Henry, and little Vicky, who is gone dead? Someone in the family? He chuckles. Mrs. Latter, no one you know, father, a relation of Ben's. Abel, after seeing all these are in black, that is mourning dress, that is black dress, because that is a sad situation. Somebody died in their family, so they were all in black dress. So after looking at their dresses, he asked them, why are you wearing mourning dress? So who is gone dead, he questioned. Then she says, Mrs. Latter says, a relation of Ben's, father, she says. And what relation of Ben's? Mrs. Latter, his brother Ben. To Mrs. Latter, damn it, I never had one. He shows, damn it, he shows his displeasure or annoyance because he never had one. He never had one means he never had a brother. That refers to brother. One means here, one refers to brother. He never had brother. So, Abel, dear, and what was his name? Ben, dear, and it's worry. It's worry. So, dear means expresses its worry. And what is his name, Ben? He questioned. Ben was speechless at a loss, hesitation. He crosses to front of the table. He moves to the front of the table and right of the table, left of the table, Mrs. Latter, right side of the table. Frederick, father, Mrs. Jordan says. Albert, father, Ben says. Here, Fred, Isaac. Abel says, Isaac? And where did your brother Isaac die? Ben, in Australia. He wanted to go deeply, so he asked many questions. Where does his brother Isaac live? Abel rising, well, I suppose you have only been waiting for me to begin tea. I am feeling hungry. He said immediately, you all been waiting for me to have tea. I feel hungry. Let's all jolly sit and have tea. He called them, invited them. Mrs. Latter also taking up the kettle, I'll make tea. Luckily, he stopped asking questions. They felt very happy. Will come along now, sit you down and let's be jolly. Abel sits at the head of the table facing spectators. Students, up to this part of the lesson you read, and next part I continue in the next class. Dear Departed 2, part 1 is completed in the next class. I continue the lesson.